So here Kardama Muni is speaking to Devahuti after seeing the dedication of service that Devahuti has been rendering to Kardama Muni. Devahuti has been expert in serving her husband, and her qualities with respect to her service has been very distinguishedly identified, and her qualities are very magnanimous, so much so that for the sake of service, for rendering service, she neglected her own health, her own bodily comfort, which is very uncommon. That was the duty of a wife as well, that she has to assist her husband's desire to conduct his spiritual activities. And she was so expert that she was able to understand the desire of the husband. One way of understanding is by when he is told that this is what is to be done. Another expert way of, before even telling, to understand the mood of the master. We also serve a spiritual master. We have taken the position of serving a spiritual master. So as a servant, one should be an expert servant by understanding the mood of the master. That is one of the important qualities of a servant. Even before told what is to be done, he understands the desire of the spiritual master. That is the expertise of a good servant. That's the quality of a good servant. And Devahuti was so expert, she could understand the desire of her husband, and her husband's desire was not a materialistic desire, of course. His desire was to conduct his spiritual activities. And she serves her husband not out of burden. Sometimes when we give some service when we call some people for service, sometimes the mood may be different according to situation. Sometimes we may also try to escape from the service. Sometimes we call people for service. So knowing that I might have been called for some service, sometimes we may try to avoid the service. But Devahuti, mood of service is, she is serving out of love. So there is no burden while rendering service. If there is a sense of burden, then there is no rasa of service. There is a rasa in service also. In rendering devotional service, one is expected to experience the rasa of service. That is possible when we render that service out of love. That's why Krishna says that Krishna enjoys that kind of service which is rendered out of love and devotion. Okay, somehow I am being asked to do some service, let me do it. So such kind of consciousness or such kind of mentality, a mindset of burdensome, okay, service दे दिया है, किसी ना किसी तरह कर लूँगा मैं. Such kind of mood is not a mood of love. Devahuti's qualities has been very nicely briefed here. She was so expert that she was rendering her services diligently. Someone who is very attentive in the service, that means he renders the service diligently. Diligent means being attentive to each and every detail of the service that is handed over. One way of service, doing the service is that, okay, somehow I have to do, I am doing it. Another way of doing is being attentive to each and every minute details of service that is to be done. Minute details. We get into the minute details. So Devahuti was an expert servant where she was serving very diligently her husband. Out of love and affection. And she was also so careful that she was self-controlled. She was samena damena cha, atma sauchena damena cha. She was rendering the service with purity of mind and with self-control. And she was free from pride, envy and lust. Because in a family life, in a grahastha life, there is an opportunity for sense pleasure. And more so, Devahuti's position is, she was a daughter of an emperor. That's why here in this verse, Kardama Muni is addressing her as Manavi, daughter of Manu. Manavi Manadaya, she is respectful lady because of her parental position. Her birth was so of high parentage, so naturally anyone could have that pride. And more so, Kardama Muni was of not on the same position with respect to the materialistic situation. He is not as opulent as Devahuti. So there could be an element of pride always. Someone who is situated better in terms of one's rich parentage, he may always get into pride and vanity. But Devahuti was so expert that she was able to adjust her situation to that of husband. She reduced herself. She came down from her higher position to match to that of the position of Kardama Muni. We see similar thing in the dealings of Parvati also, the dealings of Sati also. Sati was the daughter of Daksha. He is also, just like Daksha is also Prajapati, Kardama Muni also is a Prajapati. Swayambhuva Manu is also Prajapati for that matter. So both had a rich parentage. But Sati was married to Shiva. Shiva, just like Kardama Muni, doesn't have a proper place to stay. Even Shiva was also not having any proper place to stay. But he is the best among the Vaishnavas. He is considered as Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho. He is considered as the greatest Vaishnava. But Sati Devi adjusted her position. For that matter, even in the next birth, Parvati Devi has a daughter of Himalaya. She also adjusted her position to come down to the platform of husband to serve the husband. Prabhupada refers this as Anushrama. One adjusts his position to the circumstances in a way that he can render service. Actually, these are the qualities which actually a devotee also should develop in rendering service to one's spiritual master. Whatever Devahuti's qualities we have been hearing and understanding, these are exact qualities which even a devotee should develop in one's dealing with one's spiritual master. One should serve the spiritual master with intimacy and respect, like how Devahuti was serving the spiritual master, serving her husband with intimacy. Because of being a wife, naturally there is a situation or a favorable situation or a natural situation of being intimate to husband. But the respect is never compromised. Vishrambhena Gauravena is exactly what Prabhupada has used the word. So respect is never compromised, although one may be intimate in one's dealings. That was the quality of Devahuti, and that is what the quality even a disciple should develop, should cultivate in serving one's spiritual master. One should understand the mood of the spiritual master, serve him with loving relationship. And here Devahuti considers Kardama Muni as even beyond the will of providence. Generally, everyone is controlled by the providence, the destiny. Right? What kind of fortune one would live under is already destined. No one can change that destiny. But if someone who comes in connect with personalities who are above providence, like here, Maitreya Rishi is narrating here that Kardama Muni is a personality who is beyond providence. And Devahuti is able to understand that Kardama Muni is not an ordinary person. He is Devarshi Varaya. He is foremost of the saintly people in heavenly planet. Devarshi Varaya. Just like Narada Muni is considered as Devarshi, the Kardama Muni is also a Devarshi, but among the foremost of all the Devarshis. And Kardama Muni is also referred as Teji Yasam. He is not an ordinary person. He is a great personality. His great personality means in what sense he is great? That he can change. If someone who can associate with such great personalities, he can change the providence. And that's what Devahuti is looking forward from Kardama Muni. So Devahuti's intent of association with Kardama Muni was never a material motive. She is serving her husband with all intimacy, with all great respect, without pride, and everything, whatever is narrated, we understood. It is only for the sake of one's own advancement in spiritual life. And that is a way of advancement recommended for, specifically for the women. And Devahuti, we can see here, she is expertly, perfectly serving her husband. So much so that she has neglected her own bodily comforts. And looking upon this situation of Devahuti, Kardama Muni is speaking here. He is saying here, Tushtoham adya tava mana vimanadayaha. Tushtoham, I am very much satisfied. Tushtoham adya tava manavi manadayaha. For what is he satisfied? Is he satisfied with the wife? Because in a family life, as I said, there is a natural opportunity for sense pleasures. But is Kardama Muni satisfied with such kind of pleasure, what he is referring here? No. Shushushaya paramaya paraya. The Shushushaya means the service, the loving service that she rendered, which is the paramaya, is the highest service she has rendered. Cha Bhaktya, which was rendered out of devotion, and which was rendered for Madarte, which was rendered for my account. And what was the account of Kardama Muni? Kardama Muni's account was to advance in spiritual life. And he is pleased with Devahuti's service, which was rendered for the sake of Kardama Muni's desire to advance in spiritual life. And he is pleased with Devahuti's this kind of service. And how did Devahuti render this service? Ya dehi nam ayam ativa surhat sadeho. Kardama Muni is saying here, Ya dehi nam ayam ativa surhat. Dehi nam refers to someone who has occupied the body, the embodied being. For a dehi nam, ayam ativa surhat dehaha. This body is very, very dear for them. We try to keep our body always secured and protected, or try to keep it in a very, very comfort situation. We don't like to put the body in a discomfort position. In any activity, we first try to see that is my personal situation. This body is put in a comfortable way. We try to estimate. Suppose we are asked to travel, we start thinking first. How will I travel? Will I travel in car? Will I travel in air? Will I travel in bus? Suppose if we happen to travel in a little discomfort situation, so it creates little discomfort in the mind. We are naturally will be very feeling good if we travel in flight. Suppose if we are asked to travel by bus, how come we can travel in bus? So mind doesn't accept that discomfort situation. Why? Because body is very dear for us, and we want to give the best of the comfort for the body. If we look for best of the comfort in our eating, in our sleeping activities. I want the best of the food. If little here and there in the quality of the food not matching to our palate, so we feel discomfort. Why? This body is very dear to us. We want to keep the body very comfortable. No burden. We don't want to give any burden to the body, because the body is very dear to us. Especially the materialists, we see the whole arrangement they do is completely centered around giving comfort to the body, protect the body, safeguard the body. So anything else, anything other thing in this world, this body is very, very dear for us. That's why it is said here, Ativa Suhrat. Ativa, very, very dear. We may have many things under our possession, but if some crisis happens, say suppose suddenly if there is a fire here, we don't think for anything else other than running away from here. We may have some valuable possessions which us, but we give up everything and we ourselves run away. Why? Because we want to secure our body. So it doesn't mean that we should be under the fire, but trying to say that how body is so much dear for us. And Devahuti here, she is able to neglect her own body, bodily comfort, which generally we don't try to do. Who will put oneself in a very discomfort service and yet do some service? For what purpose someone will get into such kind of... That is the highest consciousness which Devahuti is exhibiting here. That ready to put the body under extreme discomfort, so much so that she has become very, very weak. Na vekshitaha samochitaha. You have not taken proper care of the body. We have heard of the example of the story of cage polishing, the bird in the cage example. That is an example of materialists. They are so much engrossed in maintaining the body, they forgot to feed the soul. But devotees, especially the pure devotees, they are entirely opposite. They are so much engrossed in devotional service, they don't consider it is very important to care the body. They neglect bodily comfort. So much so that they will become weak also sometimes. Like how Devahuti is, we can see this. It is a live narration. This is a real narration, what Devahuti exhibited. For a materialist to do any activity, the basis of doing an action is sense pleasure. I will take up an activity anticipating and perceiving some kind of material pleasure out of doing that activity, which is called fruitive activity. If there is no pleasure in doing an activity, no one will try to get into that activity. So the pleasure of fruitive activity or pleasure of fruitive result or enjoying the fruitive result is my motivation or driving factor to do an activity. But here Devahuti has nothing to enjoy materially, but yet she is displaying a kind of quality where she is still doing the service, means there is some pleasure, but what is that pleasure that she is experiencing here? Ultimately, any activity there has to be some pleasure. But what is that pleasure which Devahuti is relishing, for which she is able to put her body in a discomfort situation, and she is enduring that trouble of discomfort and yet continuing the service continually. And that pleasure is nothing but spiritual pleasure. The pleasure of rendering service. The pleasure of rendering service is so nice and relishable that sometimes one naturally neglects giving comfort to his own body. It doesn't seem for them that giving comfort to the body is so important and priority. It will not be in a priority list. And that is the natural constitutional position of a jiva. The soul's position, real ananda, is by rendering service to the Lord. In relation with service to the Lord, the rasa that is relished is far, far more superior than the rasa that is engaged in material activity. The rasa experienced out of enjoying the fruit of an activity is considered as insignificant and tuchcha. That Bhagavatam also describes in various places. Rishabhadeva also teaches how the pleasure, the sense pleasure, is considered as tuchcha. And jiva experiences the real pleasure, the original pleasure, only in engaging in devotional service with the Lord, or engaging in those activities which are connected to the Lord. And that's what we can see here. Devahuti is also experiencing the spiritual rasa, and only because of that alone she is able to endure the discomfort for the body. In the material world, everyone looks for an opportunity for sense pleasure, sense enjoyment. Constantly keep looking for sense enjoyment. In fact, people don't have an understanding, or have an understanding enjoyment means enjoyment through the senses. They have no other understanding, unfortunately. There is no understanding that there is a rasa higher than this, which is through the rasa of rendering service. Common man doesn't know this. Unless they take up to the process of devotional service, unless they come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master, unless they come and hear such teachings, mostly everyone is ignorant about this understanding. Practically everyone. How many people would be engaged in a process where one is engaged in trying to experiencing the rasa of service? Mostly we all are engaged in rasa of the fruit of the activity. But only devotees try to experience the rasa of service. So there are two things, the rasa of service and the rasa of the fruit. Devotees don't engage in a service for the rasa of the fruit. We may be doing service, but grossly we may not see some result. But yet he takes pleasure in the service per se. Say a devotee who is going out for a collection or a fundraising service. Say continuously he doesn't have any result. So that is the kind of experience which Lord is trying to take him go through, so that he will understand that how Lord is actually wanting him to go through some circumstances where he realizes, he experiences some situation or any other service, a cooking service or any other preaching services. We are given different kinds of services to be engaged in under the service of a spiritual master. We don't engage in a service for the fruit per se. But yes, of course, Krishna sometimes he will definitely give the fruit, but that fruit alone is not the motivation for engaging in service. So that is the difference between a spiritual engagement and material engagement. In the material world, everyone tries to engage only with the anticipation of rasa out of the fruit or the result that has come out of a action. But in the spiritual world, everyone is engaged in the service for satisfying the spiritual master, satisfying Krishna. The rasa of being engaged in the service is predominant. There is no scope of sense enjoyment in the spiritual world or in a spiritual activity. Although spiritual world, there is ananda. The spiritual world is made out of, composed of Satchit Ananda. The Ananda doesn't refer to the kind of Ananda that is experienced in the material world. The Ananda in the material world is completely based on senses. Although there may be hindrances, there are challenges, there are limitations. Materialist should not misunderstand that in the spiritual world, the Ananda is like the Ananda in the material world. Maybe in the material world, Ananda is limited, the sense pleasures are limited, but in the spiritual world, the pleasure of senses can be enjoyed unlimitedly. That is not the understanding. That is not the kind of pleasure that one seeks or one will experience in the spiritual world. So, that is what the devotees aspire for. They aspire for spiritual pleasure, the pleasure for experiencing, the aspiration for experiencing the rasa of rendering service. And for that, they are ready to endure any kind of discomfort for the body. And Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, elsewhere Prabhupada narrates that this kind of trouble that one experiences in the course of rendering devotional service is like burden of love. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, he narrates just like how for a husband he has to endure the burden of maintaining the wife, endure the burden of maintaining the family, children and everything. And similarly, the child on the lap of a mother and taking care of the child and giving all nourishment is a trouble. It's not an easy activity. Someone who has a child will know what is the burden of maintaining a child. In the midnight, the child will wake up and keep screaming. Practically, they will not be able to take proper sleep. We can ask from someone who has maintained a child. Or you would have heard, we have seen also sometimes. So it's a very troublesome, it's very burdensome. But yet, for a mother, it is not burden. And a businessman, he is having so much wealth. So much wealth he tries to accomplish or achieve, that even though he might have mobilized so much wealth, but he never feels the burden of that wealth. 100 crore, 200 crore, 300 crores. We have seen many rich people, millionaires. The Forbes magazine releases periodically the richest people in this nation or in this country. But no one feels the burden of that wealth. A businessman never feels the burden of wealth. He wants more and more wealth. He wants to endure more and more the burden of that wealth. But when this wealth is not there, an absence of that wealth makes him more suffer than the very burden of having that wealth. Suppose suddenly the wealthy man becomes a pauper. So much burden he will go through. So much pain he will go through. But the pain is still there when he is having the wealth. He has to maintain the wealth. He has to ensure the wealth is secured. He ensures all kind of strategies to secure his wealth. Similarly, the husband has to maintain the family. But if the family is not there, if they are separated, there is still the pain. Similarly, a mother who takes care of the child, there is a burden. But if the child is not there, there is also a burden. So Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura says that in absence of that burden, actually the suffering is more. It cannot be borne. Such kind of burden cannot be borne. That's why it is called as burden of beast. It's unbearable pain. But there is a pain while maintaining the wealth, while maintaining the family, while maintaining the children. But that pain is called as burden of love. There is a pain, but there is still a love. Similarly, devotees don't consider the pain sometimes that may be encountered while rendering devotional service, especially bodily pain. body and mental pain. There is mental pain also sometimes while engaging in devotional service. While doing service, someone will chastise, someone will criticize, someone will point out the mistakes. It gives so much of pain. But he endures. He doesn't relinquish the service. Or while rendering service, sometimes there will be some discomfort for the body. You are gone for preaching, you come back very late, say 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, you are back. Next day you want to cope up with the morning sadhana. Say 4 o'clock, you have to again rise up. There is a discomfort for the body. So if we start thinking, tomorrow morning I have to get up early, so I will try to avoid this discomfort situation for the body. No. So that is the burden that one is giving to the body. That is the trouble or austerity one is taking. Naturally one may think, okay, I can miss Mangalarti tomorrow. Why? Because I came late today. So tomorrow we don't come for sadhana. If we are asked, Prabhu, I came late yesterday night. Very, very quick reply. Not even thinking for a second. There is a reason framed in the mind that why I can miss my sadhana tomorrow. But if we can come in spite of that trouble, then that is burden of love. Why? Because spiritual master wants his disciple to be suyantritaha. Follow the sadhana. Because there is a very expert reason, very valid and easy reason to say that no, I came back late tomorrow. I came back late yesterday. But can we give a try? That in spite of this situation, can I give a try to rise up in spite of that discomfort situation? Is what is austerity for us today. For us, austerity is not such big austerities like what people used to do in the Vedic times. We have to take up austerity of the body so that in the name of service, we don't get into kind of a shell kind of thinking. Sometimes we may be of a mind frame to do a service, everything should fall in place well in a very comfortable situation, then only I'll be able to do service. We will be sometimes calculative. Okay, today I slept how many hours? 6 hours. Tomorrow I should try to sleep. I should cope up. So we calculate sometimes. It's good though. I'm not saying that it's not like it's bad to do like that or think like that. But are we able to simultaneously give an extra mile to the body, give a pain to the body and try to endure that pain? So that we don't get into a shell kind of thinking. We don't become complacent in our understanding. Say today vehicle is not there, so can I go by auto? Can I go by bus? Going by auto or bus is definitely not in a comfortable way than traveling in a car. So that is an extra mile of austerity. So situation may not be same every time while we are doing service. So a devotee tries to adjust with any kind of situation and still render service. He will not get hooked on to a kind of a specific circumstances for doing a service, for rendering service. If it is everything like this, then only I will do service. Devotee is ready to do service in any circumstances, because the very service, the understanding of service is ahaituki. Material circumstances cannot hamper per se our engagement in devotional service. At any given situation, services can be rendered. So that is the austerity that we can today take up. Everyone has their own capacity to take some extra mile of austerity. Devotee had her capacity of taking up an austerity with respect to giving discomfort to the body, which no one would like to give. Generally, no one would like to take up such kind of discomfort for the body and still engage in service. But a materialist, you see, materialist also sometimes gives discomfort to the body. For what sake? For material gain. If for material gain, for a materialist is able to take up so much pain for his body, for the spiritual pleasure, for the sake of rendering devotional service also, very much possible that we can see in the pastime of, or the story of Devahuti. From this incident we can understand. So devotees should try to consciously see that, is there anything extra mile that I can do in my service, so that I don't become complacent. Because mind is such that it becomes accustomed to doing a thing in a specific way and becomes caught up in that circumstances. Anything beyond that circumstances where the body has to go through some pain, we try to reject that. So we don't look for the comfort zone for the body while we are engaged in service. Even though there may be some kind of discomfort, but still I am ready to engage. That discomfort may be discomfort for body, discomfort for mind. Both are equally important. I don't like to engage in a service where there is discomfort for my body and for my mind. That is a very, very less understanding of engagement in service. From the behavior of, from the nature of pure devotees, we can see pure devotees are ready to engage in any kind of discomfort. We see in the life of Prabhupada also. For the sake of service, he is ready to take any discomfort. Sacrificing sleep, travel at any point of given point of time. Prabhupada used to continuously travel. Right? Nothing to do with jet lag. We know that pastime story where Prabhupada, no one will be able to catch the pace of what Prabhupada has in terms of doing service. Continuously engaged in service. No tiredness in doing service. So we know that the two devotees who travelled with Prabhupada continuously, they were waiting that when Prabhupada will go to rest, so that we will also take some rest. So Prabhupada apparently seemed like he went to rest, and devotees also went to rest. Prabhupada suddenly calls them. And Prabhupada is asking, what are you doing? Why are you so late to come back to report? No, Prabhupada, he was just taking rest. Prabhupada asks, why rest? Prabhupada, jet lag. What jet lag? So Prabhupada is teaching us that we should try to take some discomfort of this body and yet try to do some service. To the capacity that we will be able to take now. It is not estimated or it is not expected one become like Devahuti overnight. So, okay, tomorrow onwards we'll be like Devahuti. We'll not eat, we'll stop eating, we'll stop sleeping. No. One has an inherent capacity to do some austerity, take up some extra mile of austerity. Today I might have slept for, say, 6.5 hours. So can I reduce little bit and still see that I am able to manage? We should be able to do that. We will not be calculative. Today I slept for 5 hours, tomorrow I should sleep for 7 hours. Mentally we will start calculating. It's more of a mind kind of paradigm that we keep meditating sometimes. I have not slept more. I have slept very less, so tomorrow I should sleep more. So devotee tries to look for opportunities to take some load of service, extra load of service, at the cost of giving some trouble to the body. They don't hesitate. Just at the hour of going to bed at 9 o'clock, if the temple commander comes and calls, Prabhu, there is a service, can you come? Oh, I was supposed to go to bed now. So he doesn't get discouraged. Actually, it happened in my case. In Bangalore, when I was a bhakta, so there was some inconvenience that happened in Pujari room, and at 9 o'clock exactly, temple commander, those days Satyagur Prabhu was temple commander. So he rings, 2 devotees he called, I was one among them. So we have to take, sometimes will naturally come and fall upon us. And something which is naturally come and fall upon us, we should be ready to take. Such kind of burden. We should be ready to take. And we should do that. And the satisfaction that comes, that one experiences after doing services in such a situation, that will be really very relishable. And that is something to relish for ourselves, not that I keep doing tam-tam to everyone and do that experience, that rasa. No. It is something for us to relish ourselves internally. Than speaking to everyone and saying that, oh, I did service in spite of bodily comfort. That is another kind of sense gratification. Or we keep looking to the community will now glorify me. Oh, you came for sadhana, you came back late night yesterday, still you came, very nice Prabhu. Okay, that appreciation may be there, genuinely it is there. But we won't be looking for that kind of appreciation. But if you are able to manage, in spite of that, you took that extra load to manage the sadhana, in spite of previous days' heavy workload, no one is going to question or ask you, you should be coming in spite of your heavy workload yesterday for sadhana. But if you still be able to come, you are able to manage, there is a kind of satisfaction. Internal satisfaction. Oh, good that I was able to manage. So that is a kind of satisfaction that a devotee is always looking for in the course of service, and he doesn't hesitate in giving trouble to the body while performing, while executing devotional service. And if someone is experiencing a kind of burden while engaging in devotional service, that means he is not situated in a right consciousness. So, one will start thinking, I am given this service, unnecessarily I am being engaged here. Does Prabhu doesn't not know? We start ourselves giving so many rationalizing, we'll start rationalizing in our mind. The Prabhu should know, no, I just came back, after long service I just came to rest. Prabhu should understand I should have been tired. I might have been tired, so we start in that mood, in such kind of mind frame. If someone engages in service, then that is not the right consciousness. So everyone can practice an extra mile of austerity like that. Someone may be a brahmachari, someone may be even a grihastha, someone may be a grihastha who may not be a full-time engaged in the temple. He may be engaged outside. Say for example, Krishna Ashya devotees. They can also take up extra mile. They can take a consideration. At least once in a week, let us come to temple and chant 16 malas. That's the trouble. There is a family outside, there is things to do outside. But in spite of that, at least once in a month, once in a week, coming to temple and chanting a mist of devotees, doing 16 malas, that may be sometimes inconvenient, but can it be done? Can we take up that extra mileage of load to the body? So, devotee, irrespective of their own situation, they have their inherent capacity to take some extra austerities by way of giving some discomfort to the body. And this is a bare minimum austerity that we are actually expected to take up. Not expected to do austerities like great yogis, but a very chutko austerity for that matter, if you see. But even if we are not able to do even this much, then we can consider what is our situation. So we can also aspire, like how Devahuti is aspiring here. So her services, her favorable disposition is only because she had a very wonderful husband, Teji Assam. He is a great personality. For an ordinary woman, in an ordinary circumstances, that is not possible. Yet we are fortunate that we all are having that fortunate situation by way of having a bona fide spiritual master. Somebody may have or not have a great personality husband like Kardama Muni, but we have a great spiritual master. Everyone has an opportunity to engage irrespective of whatever material circumstances we are there today. But if we can engage in service of Srila Prabhupada or a bona fide spiritual master like Prabhupada, yet we can advance in spiritual life. And if we can take that extra load of serving spiritual master, some challenges, then we can advance in spiritual life very nicely. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.